my mother died when I was 7 years old. And from that age, when I just had entered elementary school, I asked myself, well, if we all die, why do we live in the first place? And when I asked my father, he said, ask the teachers in school. And when I asked the teachers in school, they said in elementary school it's still too early. Wait until you go to high school. So at that age, I already got the impression that even the grown-ups don't really know the meaning of life. And when I asked my friends, they looked surprised. Strange things you talk about. Let's play soccer together. But I was never really, into playing soccer or anything. I wanted to know why we are here. But nobody could answer me. And at age 16, I entered a boarding school, and there happened to be a teacher who was into meditation, Zen. And I had never heard about that. I wasn't really interested in religion or meditation or anything. So when he asked me if I would want to participate, I said, no, thank you. It was the time where Bhagwan was in the news and transcendental meditation and people that claimed that they could levitate. So I thought it's kind of something like dubious. 2 or 3 weeks later, he came for a second time because there were not many students in that meditation class. And he asked for a second time, and I was even more suspicious. Or already the second time. I said, I have no interest in that. And he would then ask me, well, have you tried? And I said, no, of course not. And I have no intention to do so. And then he said, well, if you never tried, how can you say you're not interested? So I let myself be convinced to try it at least once, and then I thought I would stop. But as the result of that one time, I'm sitting here now. So something made me come over and over again. And today I would say that first time when I said it was a discovery of my body. I knew, of course, that I have this body, but if you had asked me, where are you, who are you, I would have pointed to my head. The brain in here, that's probably me. And I only need my lungs to supply the brain with oxygen. I need the heart to pump the blood in my body. But for example, in school, I would sit kind of like Rodin's thinker, or I would sit leaning back on my chair. And sometimes the teachers would say, hey boy, do something about your posture. And I would say, well, as long as I listen to what you say and I have good points in the tests, who cares about my posture? So in Zen, it was for the first time that I realized that when my posture changes, somehow everything seems to change. The whole world seemed to change. And of course, 16 years I had been breathing, and I knew I need to breathe to be alive, but I never felt the breath. And in Zazen, I was surprised at something as close to as my breath. Normally I don't realize it, but then it's there. Or there's this bird that had been probably singing all day since the morning, but for the first time I hear that bird. That was the big discovery in the beginning. How small my world was. How selected my
experience
was of the world, yeah. And then I started to read books, because after a year the teacher quit the school and he told me, why don't you continue as the kind of responsible person of that meditation circle. So then I thought I need to know something about Buddhism, about Zen, Japanese Zen. And I started to read books by D.T. Suzuki and about Buddhism. I learned about that prince that 2,500 years ago in India, although he was supposed to become the king, left the palace and looked for, well, the reason of suffering. He claimed famously, life is suffering, the later Buddha. And a lot of people don't agree with that. They say, well, life is so beautiful. How can he say that? But he spoke out of my heart in a way. For 16 years almost, well, 9 years since the age of 7, I thought I was the only one who kind of asked for the meaning of life. And then I realized I wasn't the only one. The people for a long time had been dealing with this question, struggling with this question, why do we suffer and what can we do about it? And well, they say that the Buddha, sitting under the so-called Bodhi tree one morning, saw the morning star and found the answer. And then his teaching and this practice of meditation came from India to China, and from China 800 years ago, it arrived in the form of Zen in Japan. So when I heard that I knew, I was 16, 17 at the time, I knew I want to go to Japan and practice it there in the home country, so to speak.